Thank you, Peter, and thank you to Senator Vance. Now it's my honor to present Columbus Police Lieutenant Brian Steele, President of FOP Lodge Number 9.
Nothing quite elicits an emotional response with me like the pipes and drums, so I wasn't prepared for that. I'm going to try to get together and regroup. Good afternoon, first responders, Mr. Mayor, elected officials, esteemed guests, friends, and fellow Americans. My name is Brian Steele. I'm the president of FOP Capital City Lodge 9, and I have the incredible privilege of serving, representing, and advocating for 4,500 dedicated men and women of Franklin County law enforcement. Today we gather to remember one of the darkest days in our nation's history, the attack on September 11th, 2001. It has been 23 years since that fateful day, yet the memory of it lives as vivid as ever. For some, the memories of 9/11 are deeply personal, etched into the hearts and minds. For others, especially our younger generation, it's an event learned in textbooks or passed down from stories from their elders. But we are here today to remind everybody that the legacy of 9/11 is not just history. It is a living, breathing part of who we are as a nation. On that day, 23 years ago, our country was violently shaken. Terrorists stole that day from us. Families were torn apart and communities were left shattered. Our nation was left in mourning. But in the midst of the horror and devastation, something incredible happened. Anybody remember that was? Our nation stood together. On that day and the days that followed, we witnessed the birth of countless heroes. First responders, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, ordinary civilians. They rushed towards the danger when every instinct told them to run the other way. Many of them never returned home. Their courage was extraordinary, reminded us that not all heroes wear capes or uniforms. Sometimes they stand beside us, willing to put others before themselves when duty calls. For those of us that lived through that day, the events of 9/11 are more than just a moment in history. They are part of who we are. As the events unfolded, disbelief, shock, and sorrow swept over us all. Time seemed to stand still. Our world, our sense of security was forever altered. But as much as that day was defined by loss, it was also characterized by unity. In the days and weeks following the attack, something remarkable happened. Our great country, we came together. We were no longer divided by our differences, whether political, racial, economic. We were simply Americans united in our grief, our resolve, our commitment to rebuild, to protect the values we hold dear. We stood as a nation indivisible and stronger than ever before. That sense of unity is something we must never forget, especially as the years pass and 9/11 becomes a distant memory. Our responsibility is to teach our children that the events themselves are not just about extraordinary bravery, but solidarity that arose from the ashes on that terrible day. Our first responders, those men and women who ran into burning buildings, who searched through rubble, who gave their lives, must never be forgotten. Today, as we remember September 11th, let us recognize and thank our first responders, those of who continue to protect and serve our communities. I see President Steve Stein back there, who leads the great Columbus firefighters of Local 67, along with my fellow police officers, Franklin County Sheriff's officers of Lodge 9. I see you. I hear you. You are my brothers and sisters. You carry a legacy of those that came before you. You deserve our deepest gratitude and our deepest respect. 9/11 is all about the resilience of the American people. In the wake of the attacks, we saw an outpouring of kindness and generosity from every corner of the country. That spirit of unity is something we need today, arguably more than ever. In a time when our nation feels increasingly divided, we must remember the lessons of 9/11. Let us honor those we lost by recommitting ourselves to these values. The world has changed in many ways since that day, but the values that define us as a nation have not. We are still the land of the free. We are still the home of the brave. In closing, let us take a moment to honor the victims of 9/11, the first responders who gave their lives, and the countless others who have served and sacrificed in the years since. Let us remember them not only with sorrow and pride, but with the knowledge that their legacy lives on in the American people's strength, unity, and resilience. May we never forget May we always strive to live up to the ideals that they've tried to protect. God bless you all, and God bless America.